Hi, I wanted to give you a quick peek at the daily work that I do in class with your students. Each class period, at the very beginning, we start with what I call openers. The openers are designed after the thinking skills and tasks that the students have to use in the standards for each content area. The state of Tennessee has given us skills that we should focus on. In science and social studies, it's no longer regurgitate the facts. It's meant for the students to make deeper connections, which is amazing. For example, in science, they have come to realize that a scientist, research engineer doesn't do their job by textbook and worksheet. It's a lot of hands-on, it's a lot of thinking, and really digging into something that's in front of them. In social studies, what they have come to realize, which I think a lot of you have known for years, probably based on your school experiences, is that to make social studies meaningful, it shouldn't be about memorizing dates and knowing everything in a certain order. What is important with the current standards is the ability for the students to make connections across different parts of history and make connections to today and be able to explain how one part of history affected the other part of history. You're going to see that as we go throughout the year. So when I'm designing these openers, I will spiral content throughout the year, but the skills the students use to answer the questions will stay the same. I'll change up the questioning and types of questions, but the goal of the openers is to have them really think and to put thoughts together. My first quarter is probably going to be easier than second, third, and fourth quarter because I want to build that in them. Not every student comes to me knowing how to critically think. And that's common for this age group. You know, that's part of the learning process as they're getting older, so more needs to be asked of them. So let me show you real quick what this looks like. Now I'm showing you a digital version. Your student will get a worksheet at the beginning of the week that looks like, oh, there it is, the scroll bar. Okay. That looks like this. Now, this is for week 1. This first week, I'm really not having them do anything tremendously hard. It's analyzing graphs and charts. That is in both contents, maps, graphs, charts. And you'd be surprised at how many students aren't able to pull information from the simplest chart or graph. I recommend doing something at home as simple as looking at the side of a food box and asking them a question and make them locate the information on the nutrition label. Sounds crazy, but something as simple as that I have found to be challenging for groups of students because it's not something they're really asked to do. Or bar graphs, pie charts, anything you can do with them at home to make them more familiar with analyzing charts and graphs and data, perfect. So anyways, first week is pretty easy. So let me show you my second week. This is more of what your child will see each week. What you'll see is a day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. And at the bottom, there's a Friday question where I give them a test question that will look similar to what they'll see on an exam. But you can see the topic or skill I'm working on for each day: construct an explanation, obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information, analyze and interpret data, asking questions, defining problems. So here's the slide that your student will see at the beginning of class period. Whoop, didn't mean to press share. Let's click done and press present. There we go. All right. Yes, I do ask them to use, sorry, my battery was low. I ask them to use complete sentences. This might be the death of me with every group of kids, but it's important that we understand that we need to communicate using complete sentences. Am I looking for spelling? No. At this point, we're going to focus on complete sentences. Capital letter, complete thought, period. All right, let me go back to what we were looking at. So here's day 1 for not this week, but next week. It says, construct an explanation for the two images. How do these images show energy? At this point, you're going, oh my gosh, have you even taught that, Miss Smitley? The answer is no. And I think that's the hardest for students to grasp, is that my work is about trying. And students who want the right answer every time the first time really don't like tasks like this, because I want them to show their thinking, and then we discuss what the answer is. As long as they've done what they should as far as having complete sentences, on task, on topic in their answers, they're good to go. It's effort. But the fun of this task is when I turn it into a group discussion every day. And it's not just me standing up there spitting out the right answer. I question them to challenge their thinking. Well, why did you put that? Why would you think it was that? That's an interesting thought. Let's see what the rest of the room thinks. Because only a small percentage of students actually retain from a teacher that spits facts at them all day. I was one of those students who did not do well when I had teachers like that. So this task can be challenging for students who want the right answer the first time. But this openers previews the next week's topic. So when I actually get to the lessons that cover these topics, the students have a prior knowledge, a base knowledge, and the lessons make more sense, and I can extend and enrich what I'm teaching even more for my students. So the students would see this, and then on their answer sheet would write their answers here. And then after day one, we would go over the answer. Yes, they have to keep up with this sheet of paper all week. We understand that can be challenging for some students. The great thing about this is if they lose their paper, they can always just get a sheet of notebook paper, divide it into 4 boxes, and answer there. Do I keep extra copies? Absolutely I do. But I don't want to kill trees unnecessarily, because it's funny how they'll lose it and then find it by Friday. No big deal. I will also post the PowerPoint slides for openers each week. That way, if a student wanted to work ahead, work at home, that's fine, or maybe they're sick, they can catch up. But please let them do the thinking. Encourage them to not come to you for the answer, but to try, to really test their limits and see if they can come up with an answer. I'll show you one more day. Let me go back to present. So when students see a word problem, they think, am I in math class? What am I looking at? Well, this word problem is a scientific experiment. They have to answer, how should Nathaniel figure out which brand is the best? So Nathaniel in this problem really loves popcorn, but can't stand unpopped kernels. So he goes to the grocery store, buys all the brands of popcorn, and he wants to figure out which one has less kernels. I want the kids to answer the question, well, how could he figure that out? The science world is going away from teaching the scientific method, as I did maybe even just 2 years ago. It's more about what's the problem, define the problem, what information do you need, and focusing on that as the critical knowledge that students should be trying to find or gain. So I'll show you what it looks like on the question sheet. Whoop, wrong button. Here we go. So here's day 2. Obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. That is the skill for that day. So to kind of summarize, we do this at the beginning of each class period. Each week of openers previews the next week's lesson. They are graded on effort and complete sentences. And I want this to be something that challenges their thinking and allows them to investigate and come up with answers based on their knowledge or what they're seeing for that day. I will post this weekly. Forgive me if it's not always on a Monday. I will try to, or the week prior. But this is a grade that will be every week, and it is effort to see if they're really trying to pick something apart and if they're completing it. Have a good day. Bye.